Just a few days ago, it was announced Joel Embiid will miss the remainder of the season due to that lingering left knee injury. Embiid's only played in 19 games this entire year. He's coming off a season where he only played in 39. So at this point, it feels like we're never going to see that MVP Joel Embiid ever again.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be 31 at the start of next season, and given his track record with health, who the would bet on him getting healthier as he gets older?
Before we start talking about Joel Embiid being out for the year, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So like we said in the intro, Embiid was an NBA MVP literally less than 2 years ago. That doesn't feel like it was 2 years ago. It feels like 5 at this point now, but he was pretty good. 30.6 points a night, 11.7 boards, 4 assists. I know a lot of people think he didn't deserve MVP. People say like he whined for it. The media gave it to him. There's hints of truth to that. We didn't think he deserved it. Like he wouldn't have been our vote, but
same time, we're not gonna like protest over this,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Dude was still extremely dominant. Wasn't dominant in the playoffs. As usual, gets bounced in the second round by the Celtics.
When is he ever?
He's never. I mean, he isn't ever, but you have to throw it in there. But at the very least, like the dude was, in my opinion, a top 5 player. At the very least, you had to give him top 10.
He was at worst like 7th.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think that's the absolute lowest you could have put him at. And I mean, to start last season, Embiid was even better. He averaged a ridiculous 34.7 points per game while only playing 33.6 minutes per game. First guy since Wilt to average more points than minutes played per game in a season. Had some incredible performances throughout the year. 41, 10, and 7 against Jokic and the Nuggets, 50, 13, and 7 against the Wizards, 51 and 12 against the Timberwolves, and of course that 70.18 board game against Wemby and the Spurs. After that game, I remember you were talking about him like he's MVP again.
Yeah, I'm like, it's over. Like the dude was so dominant. Like he had to deal with that whole Morey Harden situation going on before the season began, and he came in and just balled. It felt like Embiid was almost a lock for back-to-back MVPs, but only a week later, he has that knee injury versus the Warriors. It's that same left knee that's bothering him to this day. He has surgery to repair the torn meniscus, misses the next 2 months of the season, but he did return before the playoffs. He was looking pretty good going to the playoffs, and even though the Sixers got bounced in the first round last year, I thought Embiid played pretty well. Shooting numbers, not the best, but he had that monster 50-point game in game 3, played pretty well on defense too. Like, I thought he was solid, especially for his standards.
I was
going to
say, like, he was better than he normally is in the playoffs. He still wasn't amazing by any means, but he definitely was better than what we're used to with him in the playoffs. Despite the injury issues though, Embiid would play with Team USA in the Olympics. Some people got on him about this, and like, I get both sides. If you're a Philly fan and this guy struggled with injuries basically his entire career, it might be a little frustrating to be like, dude, why are you playing for Team USA in the summer? You know, take the summer, get healthy, you know, rest up, get ready for the start of next season. At the same time, when you listen to Embiid talk about why he did it, you know, he did it for his son who was born in the United States. He wanted to represent the US for his son, for his family. He wanted the opportunity to play with, you know, Steph, LeBron, and KD. You know, it's a once in a lifetime thing that very, very few guys get to participate in. I mean, yeah, it's not held like in as high regard by fans or media or whatnot, but people forget like the Olympics happen once every 4 years. Someone wins the NBA championship every year. Like the opportunities to play in the Olympics do not come around very often for a lot of guys.
Yeah, for many athletes, it's once in a lifetime opportunities. And if it wasn't for Embiid, Team USA doesn't take home gold.
Probably not.
Yeah, simple as that. So I'm happy he at least joined Team USA. I see both sides, but I'm not going to criticize him for that. So that brings us to this season. We just talked about it last week in the Paul George wash video. Philly gave huge money to not just Paul George, but they also gave a ton of money to Embiid with this 3-year, $193 million extension. So when he's 34, he has a player option for $69 million for 1 season.
Jesus. I'm pretty sure that was like the NBA salary cap in like 2010.
It probably was.
I mean, that is outrageous.
Done.
Props to Daryl Morey for handing out 2 of the worst extensions in recent NBA history in the same offseason.
Yep, and that's going to cost him his job.
As it should.
Yes.
Man's been living off like swindling the Thunder for James Harden for like a decade at this.
Exactly.
He's the Doc Rivers of GMs at this point.
Yeah. Around this time, we had the quote from Embiid where he said, "If I had to guess, I would probably never play in back-to-back games the rest of my career." He was, of course, heavily criticized for this, especially because he just had that massive extension. You'd expect the guy you're paying all this money to actually play NBA games. I kind of understand because they were pushing this whole thing where like, okay, the only focus is being healthy for the playoffs. Like Embiid is never healthy for the playoffs, always got some random issue. Like we're just trying to keep this guy healthy for the playoffs, no matter what. Pretty ironic given what's happened.
You got to make the playoffs to be healthy for the playoffs,
Right.
But we'll circle back to that at the end. To start the season, Embiid would miss the first 9 games of the year dealing with what the Sixers were calling left knee management. Never a good sign when they can't actually pinpoint what the injury is. He also would pick up a 3-game suspension for getting into an altercation with a media member in the 76ers locker room. Remember we talked about this in a previous video, like you can't do it. At the same time, that media guy because he was like talking about his family and like that. You don't do that either. Finally makes his season debut against the Knicks on November 12th, plays terribly. 13 points, 2 of 12 shooting, and of course has to sit out the next game because it's a back-to-back. So
yeah, he literally kept his word at least.
The man's honest. But you miss the first 12 games of the season, you play one game, you play like and the next game you're immediately out again. Like, not a great look.
Played the next 3 games where he was up and down. Then he sidelined what was supposed to be 2 games due to some major swelling in that left knee. Ended up being 7 games in 2 weeks before he returned again. After that, though, he played 12 of the next 15 games. Like, that's pretty good for his standards. I mean, that's 12 of the 19 he's played this season. Had some decent games during that stretch. Like we saw hints of the old Embiid. Didn't quite feel like the old Embiid, but we saw some flashes though. Specifically that Christmas Day game in Boston. Like that win felt like it could be a turning point for the Sixers this season. Embiid did sprain his foot in warmups though. That was just, I'm sorry, it was comical.
Oh, so funny. I don't know what it is about Embiid, but he's so prone to stuff like that. Like comically falling over just like nothing.
Out of like a cartoon ass injury.
Throws some like Looney Tunes sound effects on that and it's perfect.
Does play for the next 5 games, but then misses the next 10 games dealing with that foot sprain. Comes back, has a big triple-double in a win versus the Mavs. Overall played 6 of the next 8 games for the Sixers. But after that Dallas game, the Sixers proceeded to go on a 7-game losing streak with Embiid there. And at the time of this recording, they haven't won a game since.
I mean, they got the Warriors coming up, which is probably an L. And then they got us on the weekend, which is a definite L.
Exactly.
Air Shaden is taken off on whoever's in the paint for the 76ers. But that 7-game losing streak had included the infamous game where Embiid has a wide open 3 against the Raptors. Would have put them up 2 if he hit it. Didn't even shoot it. Tried to drive. Loses the ball trying to go like behind his back. The Raptors pick it up. Grady Dick gets it. Makes his free throws. And the Raptors win on the road in Philly. And Embiid actually gets booed by the home fans in Philadelphia. I mean, say what you want about Philly. They got some high expectations and they will turn on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Philly fans do not mess around. Around that time, during that losing streak, Embiid starts missing games again. We got the news that the 76ers and Embiid were consulting doctors about potentially getting surgery on the knee. And then recently on Friday, we got the report that he's out for the remainder of the season. Can't say I'm surprised. I mean, their season's going nowhere. They might potentially lose their pick. It's top 6 protected. And if they don't get it, OKC gets it, and I'm gonna lose it if they do.
If OKC's picking like 7 or whatever, I swear to God, like the NBA could introduce 2 expansion teams tomorrow.
Yeah.
And somehow Oklahoma City would own some of their first round picks. It's unbelievable at this point. But back to Embiid moving forward. I mean, he's already had 2 surgeries on his left knee. One came back in 2017. The other happened last year after that injury against the Warriors. Both times doctors just removed an injured part of the meniscus. I didn't know you could do that.
Guess so.
Apparently it's supposed to heal back up, but it's still causing him problems. So maybe they could have to look at some other options. You were telling me before the recording there might be one where like they intentionally break a bone. Yeah. So it like that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I guess like you break a bone to fix the alignment. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
Rey Mysterio's had 5 surgeries in his left knee, and he's still going at 50. He's also like 5'6", so you know might be a difference there. But we know all about sports medicine, but we do know that having a third surgery on the same knee is generally not a good thing.
Yeah, when you're 7 foot, you're like 300 pounds. Dude's already missed so many games. We know he's injury prone. We've seen all the graphics recently where he's basically played the same amount of games that he's missed. Like, that's an awful sign. You're locked up to all this money for him moving forward. Another surgery, like, it's probably what you're gonna have to do, but it's just not what you wanted to see as a 76ers fan. In like best case scenario moving forward, to get any value out of that like $68-70 million per year, we're probably talking like maybe 50-60 games, playing like 25-30 minutes a night. Just crazy. Like, your best player, that's what you have to hope for when you're paying him all this money, but that's just the reality at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with the money they got tied into him, they're tied into Paul George. The future's not looking good. I mean, maybe they somehow luck into Cooper Flagg, but if they don't, it's tough. I mean, one bright side to all this mess is that Paul George can get back to his podcast.
Yeah,
because he said he was stopping to focus on winning a championship. Well, they're not winning a championship without Embiid. So you know what? I expect a new episode of Podcast P coming next week.
So what do you guys think? Is Embiid finished? Does he have any chance of getting back to that MVP level? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like. And hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.